My fiancée left me for my brother, they got married, and now, after a tragic accident, my family expects me to step into his role. Hello everyone, this video tells the story of a visionary Paris asked him to look after she killed his brother, who had stolen his wife. From him is a really crazy and amazing story. Your opinion in the comments, enjoy your viewing. Melissa and my brother Mark had been involved since Melissa and I got engaged. Melissa and I had been together since our junior year of high school and continued through college. Getting engaged seemed like the next logical step after being together for so long. However, after our engagement, she decided to have an affair with my brother. Mark confessed his feelings for Melissa a few days after our engagement, feeling he had to tell her before she got married. This led Melissa to realize she had feelings for him too. They would even flirt behind my back at family events. I discovered all this 6 years ago, a few months before the wedding, when they, along with my parents, sat me down to announce that they planned to be together because Melissa loved Mark and was pregnant. I was heartbroken and refused to accept it. I asked Melissa to come home with me and end her relationship with Mark. However, my mother was adamant that wouldn't happen. She supported Mark and Melissa, insisting I accept their decision. She was thrilled about finally having a grandchild and didn't care about my feelings. She argued with me to justify their actions. My father looked ashamed and tried to console me, but my mother was openly supportive. She even said I had no right to upset Melissa during her pregnancy. After that confrontation, Melissa moved in with my family because her own parents disowned her after learning the truth. We had to cancel the wedding, and my parents covered the expenses. I was ostracized from the family because I refused to speak to them, and for the past 6 years there has been no contact. The only one who tried to reach out was my father, but I didn't want to talk to him. It's been total silence since I cut ties. It took a long time and extensive therapy to get over the betrayal. Melissa and I had been together for so long and I truly loved her. Even now I'm not completely over it, but I'm coping. The rest of the family stayed in touch and I learned from them that Melissa had a son with Mark. About a month after she gave birth to her son, a paternity test confirmed that it was indeed my brother's child, not mine, so there was no further reason to contact me. They ended up getting married and have been together for the past 7 years. I'd assumed everything was going well for them, but about a week ago my mother called me unexpectedly. This surprised me because she had always been the most supportive of Rachel and John, to an almost unhealthy degree. Out of curiosity, I decided to call her back after she sent me an email saying she needed to speak urgently. When I called, she delivered some devastating news while crying my brother had been in a severe hit-and-run accident. Due to the impact, he had slipped into a coma, and the doctors couldn't predict how long his recovery would take. This accident had occurred the previous week, and 3 days later the doctors informed the family that his condition was critical. My mother decided to inform me about the situation. Initially, I thought she was going to ask me to visit him and support the family, which I would have been willing to do despite everything. It seemed reasonable given the circumstances, and I didn't want to turn my back on someone in such a dire situation. However, my mother's request took a different turn. She wanted me to support Rachel and my nephew. I was confused until she explained that she now expected me to step up in my brother's place. She meant not just financially, but also physically, expecting me to move in with them to take care of them. She claimed she couldn't do it herself because she was getting older and it would be too much work. That's why she was calling me, expecting an immediate decision over the phone. I lost my temper. After 5 years of no contact, she suddenly expected me to make such a significant commitment. I understood that Rachel and her son were in a tough spot, but someone from their immediate family, not me, should have been there for them specially, since Rachel had betrayed me and never apologized. I told my mother that I would not do any such thing, and that she was unreasonable for even expecting me to agree. She started arguing with me, but I had no time for it. Already very angry, I didn't want to waste more energy arguing, so I hung up and blocked her again. I tried to continue my day as usual, but I couldn't stop thinking about what John and Rachel were going through. I felt bad for them, but wasn't willing to take my brother's place in their family. It was bizarre John was still alive, just in a coma, not dead, yet my mother was acting as if he was gone. Feeling uneasy about the whole situation, I decided to call my father later that day, hoping he would be more reasonable. It was awkward speaking to him after 5 years of silence, but after some small talk, I asked him about David's condition, and he told me that things were not looking very good. Then I mentioned the conversation I had with my mother earlier in the day, expecting him to provide some reasonable insight. Instead, he agreed with my mother's expectations, which really surprised me, because my dad has always been the more level-headed one between my parents. When I asked him if he really meant it, he confirmed and said that Rachel and I have a history, and I am still part of the family. Despite our strained relationship over the past 6 years, I am still family, and if anyone should step up, it should be me. He insisted that my mother's expectations were not unreasonable. This left me completely bewildered, and now I honestly have no idea what to do. For the past week, I've been avoiding any contact with my family, including my other relatives, because I'm afraid someone will bring this up, and I'll be forced to explain my decisions. I also feel like the bad guy here because I'm refusing to step up for my family, and I know they need me if not financially, then at least emotionally. I just don't know what to do. While I know my mother's request is strange and unreasonable, I feel guilty for rejecting it outright. I haven't even been to the hospital to see my brother because I feel so uncomfortable about the entire situation. I haven't spoken to any of my friends about this either since it's so personal. They know how things have been between my family and me since my wedding was called off, but this situation is even stranger. That's why I'm posting this here on Reddit, because I really need some objective opinions about what I should do. My friends and family will have biased opinions, and I need advice because I think I'm going to lose my mind if I don't find a solution soon. I honestly feel like I'm slipping back into that dark period of my life when I was constantly thinking about Rachel and David after discovering their affair. It was a really dark time, and I don't want to go back there after all the effort it took to snap out of it. So please, whatever anyone has to say, no matter how harsh, please tell me so I can at least distract myself. Am I wrong for refusing to see my family and step up after my brother's accident? Update 1. Hey everyone. I decided not to visit my family for the time being. It's all too overwhelming right now. I didn't realize how bad my anxiety had gotten over the past week due to my parents' demands, but I'm back on my anxiety medication and trying to cope with everything. A lot of people have showered me with love and support in the comments section of my original post, and even reached out to me personally in my DMs to let me know that they are there for me and that I'm not alone, which I am incredibly grateful for. Thank you so much for that. I've also spoken to a couple of my close friends and confided in them about what's going on because I really don't think I can handle this on my own. They have reassured me that I can talk to them whenever I need to get everything off my chest. My decision not to go see them right now is the right one for me. At this moment, it's the best choice I can make for my well-being. I have to prioritize myself, no matter what others are going through. Chris and my family have always put themselves first, so it's time I do the same. Truthfully, I don't think I need to be there for them emotionally. Either they have each other and can handle this situation. I had nobody from my immediate family supporting me after the wedding was called off and I found out about the betrayal. My own parents turned against me and sided with my brother, even though he was clearly in the wrong. He should have been the one cast out of the family. That's all in the past, and I'm trying to move on. I won't be able to do that if I go back to them. So, I've blocked all of them again, and I'm sticking to my decision of no contact. I'm genuinely sorry about what happened to my brother, and I hope he recovers soon. No matter what he did, I can't wish ill on anyone. I hope things work out for them, but I'm focusing on myself now. I'm considering returning to therapy because the way I handled this situation and how my parents' words affected me shows that I need professional help. All those old feelings are resurfacing, so I need to look out for myself now. Update 2. I've heard from a few relatives that my brother's condition remains critical, with no signs of improvement. It's been almost 2 weeks, and he's still in the hospital. Things are really bad for the family, and while I feel sorry for them, there's not much I can do. Everyone who knows my family has visited my brother in the hospital at least once in the past 2 weeks to offer their condolences for the terrible accident, except for me, I found out from my relatives that my parents have been bad-mouthing me to everyone who visits. They're portraying me as the villain, telling people that they asked me to visit and be there for the family, but I refused. They even accused me of saying that this was karma for what happened 5 years ago, and that my brother deserved it. For the record, I never said anything like that. Some relatives contacted me to confirm if this was true, because it didn't sound like something I would say. When they asked, I told them the truth. I never said those things. My parents are making it up to make me look like a terrible person, probably to provoke a reaction from me, or just because that's who they are. I'm deeply disappointed that they would fabricate such stories about me, especially after already ruining my life once. I'm lucky that my relatives checked with me, because if they had believed my parents, I doubt anyone in the family would be speaking to me right now. For the past 6 years I haven't spoken to my parents, but the rest of my family, including my aunts, uncles, and cousins, had always been there for me. I really did not want to lose that support, and I guess my parents couldn't stand it. So they decided to try and ruin that for me as well. I just don't understand why they hate me so much. I've literally never done anything to them. My brother and I have never been particularly close, and my parents have always had a soft spot for him since our childhood, but this seems unnecessary and excessive. Update 3. Hi, I posted an update 2 days ago, and today, my mother decided to reach out to me yet again. I'd blocked them everywhere, so she had no option but to pay me a visit to talk to me. When I came back home from work, she was already there waiting for me. I honestly didn't even feel like talking to her because I was already exhausted from work. I almost decided to get back into the car, but she spotted me, so I had to go and speak to her. I had no intention of letting her into my house because it would be very hard to get rid of her, so I decided to talk to her in the front yard. This proved to be pretty bad for me since she eventually started yelling, attracting the attention of the neighbors. The conversation started normally enough with some small talk, and I answered her politely. However, I couldn't help myself, and ended up asking why she had been spreading lies about me, portraying me as the bad guy. I told her it wasn't fair to me because I had never wished anything bad on my family, even after they had treated me so poorly. I just wanted to move on with my life, but they were making it very hard for me. I had been keeping these feelings to myself for a long time, and seeing her brought it all out. I told her that after everything that had happened, it was very difficult for me to think of them as family, because they had never treated me as such. I expressed my disappointment in their behavior and said that whatever she wanted to talk about could wait because I had just come home from work and was not in the mood for an emotionally exhausting conversation. She had been listening calmly up until that point, but when I told her I did not want to speak to her at that moment, she got really angry. She said she was there to apologize for the very things I had mentioned, and that she and my father had not been thinking straight. They had been angry at my initial refusal to step up for the family and visit my brother in the hospital, but they realized they hadn't treated me well in the past 6 years, and understood why I was still upset. She said she came to try and sort things out between us because she felt the family should stick together for emotional stability. However, after I told her I didn't want to speak to her, she changed her mind and started yelling at me instead. She told me I should be grateful that I even still had a family because, after my reaction to hearing about my brother's accident, she had half a mind to cut me off and ensure the rest of my relatives stopped speaking to me permanently. I didn't understand what she was talking about, so she explained that they had felt justified in their anger because of my refusal to visit my brother and support the family. Apparently believed that my reaction had not been emotional enough when I learned of my brother's accident. I didn't know what she had expected me to do, and she said she thought I should have at least shown some emotion when I heard about the accident. She claimed I had sounded very indifferent on the phone call. Obviously, no matter what our personal relationships are, news like that was bound to affect me, and it really did. As I mentioned earlier, I don't wish harm on anyone, including my family, despite our strained relations. I was definitely upset when I heard about the accident. Maybe it didn't come through on the phone call because she couldn't see my face, but her reasons were completely baseless and illogical. She went on to say that my failure to support Rachel and my nephew stepping up in my brother's place showed how little I cared for the family. She was just making things up again to justify their actions. I really think my parents have started to lose their grip on reality because their behavior is completely irrational and unnecessary. Anyway, after she started yelling, I lost even more interest in talking to her and decided to go inside my house. After some time, I unlocked the door and went in while she was still yelling. She tried to follow me inside, but I shut the door in her face and told her to leave because I was seriously pissed off and didn't want to interact with her anymore. She argued with me, but I told her I would call the police, and that's when she finally left, but not before cursing me out and saying I would face the consequences of this soon. I don't know what she meant by that, and I'm not interested in finding out. I just want to relax and move on with my life. Update 4. Hello. It's been 26 days since the accident, and my family finally had some good news to share with everyone today. Obviously, they didn't tell me personally. I found out from my cousins. The good news is that my brother is finally showing some signs of improvement. He's no longer in a coma and is responding better, which is a good sign. I really hope he continues to improve because the last month has been incredibly stressful for everyone, including me. Despite not being part of the family anymore and having been cast out long ago. However, the way my parents have been after my life in the past 26 days has shown me how unhinged they are, and I think they were just taking out their frustration on me. After my last interaction with my mother, which I mentioned in my previous update, I didn't hear from her for a couple of days. But then my father called to berate me instead. He used a different number than his usual one, so I couldn't tell it was him. When I answered the call, he started yelling at me, almost immediately, not giving me time to hang up once I realized it was him. He was very clever about it too. He tried to catch me off guard by calling at an unusual time. Instead of calling during normal hours, he decided to call me at 5 in the morning, knowing I would be sleeping, and my brain would be foggy. A couple of days after my interaction with my mother, my dad called me at 5 in the morning. After almost 3 phone calls, I finally answered the 4th one, and he immediately started shouting at me. My father immediately started yelling at me, calling me an ungrateful child, and saying he wished I had never been born. He threatened to ensure the rest of the family never spoke to me again because, in his eyes, I was a terrible human being for not visiting my brother in the hospital and not being there for the family. After ranting for almost 5 minutes, he hung up on me. I was still trying to process everything that had just happened, and by the time I was done, he had blocked me. At the time, it was not funny, but now I find it somewhat amusing because my parents are so desperate to paint me as the villain and yell at me for arbitrary things that they go to such extremes. I've already mentioned that I believe they were taking out their frustration on me. They just needed an outlet, and as usual, I had to bear the brunt of it. But it's fine because my father couldn't succeed in turning the rest of the family against me. They know I'm not wrong and understand what happened 5 years ago. Now that my brother's condition is improving, I just hope they get off my back and focus on him. Hello. It's strange to be back here after almost 3 years. So much has happened since then, and it's mostly been for the better. I now live in Germany for work, and have been here for the past 1.5 years. I've also started seeing someone. My girlfriend and I have been together for the past 8 months, and it's been blissful. In the past 3 years, I've had absolutely zero contact with my immediate family, which has also been blissful. I have kept in touch with the relatives who are nice to me, so that's different. My brother is completely fine now. He survived the accident, and although it took him a long time to recover, he's doing okay now. Rachel approached me after my brother started recovering to talk and apologize for everything that had happened in the past. I told her that at this point, an apology was unnecessary. She approached me after everyone learned I was moving to Germany for work and visited me with a bouquet to apologize on behalf of her and my brother. My brother didn't come because he was too ashamed of what had happened 8 years ago. Honestly, none of it mattered anymore, so I told them I forgave them and didn't care. That part was true. I really didn't care because I was moving on with my life and on to better things. Since then, I've been here, and my parents don't speak to me anymore. I'm really happy about that because I would never let them back into my life under any circumstances. I'm finally happy now. Anyway, now that you're all caught up, I better get back to my life. Thank you so much to the people who showed me so much love and concern when I was posting here, and who continued to ask about me in the comments and messages even after I had stopped posting.